This is the Leading Second podcast, where we're on a mission to equip local churches everywhere to raise up uncommon leaders. The Leading Second podcast releases every Thursday morning, so hit follow and share this episode with your team. Now, let's jump into another episode for all of us who lead from the middle. This is the year of the leader. This is the Leading Second podcast. Hello and welcome to the Leading Second podcast. My name is Clark and I'm one of the team members here at Leading Second. I'm so glad you've joined us and glad I get to share another great episode that we have in store for you. We have Matt and Jennifer Martin talking about managing frustration in ministry. But before we get into the episode today, I wanted to talk to you about our partner during this season of the podcast, Tithely. Do you want to grow the generosity of your church? Because if you do, then you need to make it easy and convenient to give. And Tithely offers free online giving tools that make it simple for you and your church members to tithe and make offerings. With Tithely, church members can give from their devices. That includes mobile giving, text to give, and of course, giving from your laptop or computer. On average, churches who use Tithely increase their giving by 165% year over year. So if you want to learn more about how you can use Tithely to grow your generosity at your church, go to tithely.com. Today, I'm glad we get to welcome back Matt and Jennifer Martin, who are executive pastors at NorthRock Church in San Antonio, Texas. And they're talking today about managing frustration in ministry. They sit down with Brandon and have a great conversation. So without further ado, let's listen in.
Matt and Jen, welcome back to the Leading Second podcast.
Thank you. So great to be here.
I'm so glad to have you guys here. I love you both. I respect you in ministry. I'm excited for our tribe to get to know you a bit. You're on our coaching team, of course, with coaching groups.
Yes.
Have you enjoyed that this year?
Oh, it's been a
Loved
blast. Just love, obviously, the relationships and just the time with the participants and getting into their world, their coaches, their churches, and their life.
Isn't it fascinating?
It's been so amazing. So amazing.
Yeah, it's also so great to know that, you know, the things that you went through weren't in vain, that now you can help someone else.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah.
It's amazing because everybody's church is unique.
Yes.
Everybody's problems are unique. And then everybody's problems are completely the same.
The same.
Right?
Yes.
Like everybody's
Yes.
dealing with the same.
Yes.
Churches of tens of thousands and tens
Right.
are all dealing with the
Right.
same.
Yeah, I keep hearing the same
thing.
phrase over and over. It's so comforting and so reassuring to know I'm not alone.
I know. I know.
There's somebody else. I heard a phrase. They said somebody said there's somebody else that's thinking like I'm thinking and dealing with what I'm dealing with, and I've never had a place to say that out
That's
loud.
so good. Well, enough of the commercial. There we go. Leadingsecond.com with coaching groups. That'd be great.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm excited to talk with you both today. And what we're going to talk about today is managing frustration in ministry. I had you guys on for the Whopper
Absolutely.
today. How about that?
Yeah.
Actually, Matt and I were on a coaching call, and while we were coaching a leader together, and while we're coaching, I'm like making notes on the side, like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to hear this. You know, so this is like that. Okay, let's now share it. You know, not a private conversation, but let's share those principles, you know, with the world.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to go there. But first of all, let's set some context. How long have the two of you been in ministry? I want to know that. I want to know what your current roles are at NorthRock. But then tell us also how you started the church you're at, because that's an interesting dynamic in that you started it with your pastors.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going on 29 years of being in ministry. And so started in my late teens, and it has been crazy. It's been an amazing ride, the roles I've been able to fill. Jennifer, I was probably you'd consider it being in ministry about a year before we got married. She knew what she was marrying into. And
Absolutely.
So that
Sorta.
She thought she might know. And but then over the last 15 years, we've been in San Antonio, and we moved there and helped start NorthRock Church with Pastor Jonathan and Alicia Moore. And we had nobody, no money, no clue, nothing.
Just a hope and a prayer.
Yeah, so let's see if we can make this work. And started with about 11 people and didn't know anyone. And so we just dove off into it.
Well, and God's been so kind to NorthRock.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the church has really expanded and grown. But yet, what I love is that from day one, you were owners.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you know,
Yes.
in your hearts. Day one, this thing was.
Yeah, we sold our house where we were living. We moved to San Antonio. We personally put tens of thousands of dollars in to start the church. Pastor Jonathan sold his house where he was living. He moved there, put tens of thousands of dollars. So we were terrible fundraisers. Like we just happened to sell houses that had equity in them, and we that's how we started the church. And we moved to San Antonio, and we bought houses and said we're here.
That's
We're here, and had no clue if it would work. You know, we there was just no guarantee of anything, but we went all in and went in all in with our pastors and said we're here. And you know, it was a fun conversation. I remember. We were riding down Highway 281 right through the heart of San Antonio in the region where we planted the church, and we'd been talking about it, praying about it. We'd visited several times, and I just remember looking over at him. He and I were in the front seat of the car, and Jennifer and Alicia were in the back, and I just looked over and said, "We're in," and didn't realize the depth and the weight of the words at that time. I felt it a little bit, but I didn't realize the extent of it.
Yeah, don't you think if you knew, it's like you may not have done it?
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
Because I was around NorthRock in one of its first couple of years,
Yes.
and you know, you're in a high school auditorium that it's kind of like you barely make a dent in it some Sundays. And
we were BBs in a boxcar, just roll. It was terrible.
But I mean, those days are so dang discouraging.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
And it's like, had you known, would you have even jumped into it or something?
Yeah, and we'll get into that. Those years you're talking about right there, actually, we're going to talk about a little bit more here in a little bit.
So the context here I want everyone to understand is you both are executive pastors, at the church today, but you were day oneers.
Yeah.
You're in, and also I have to note, by the way, that you're grandparents now.
Yes, we are.
And it is so exciting.
We're talking to grandma and
baby.
grandpa today, everybody.
Yes, but we still feel really young.
What I just love the fact that we're only a few years or a couple years difference in age, but we're in a different generation is what I'm just calling it now. I mean, your grandma and I mean, I'm wiping my actual kid's butt still,
and I'm
you're
wiping my
grandkids' butts. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like it's different. You get to give yours back.
Yes, I do, and it's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
And she's the most amazing thing ever.
She is.
That's awesome. Okay, so this is a rhetorical question, but have you ever experienced frustration in ministry? I can even hardly say it without laughing. You don't plant a church without experiencing frustration. You don't lead in ministry. Frustration is heavy, but it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we're at an event right now, and we heard a pastor say yesterday, if you're not experiencing pain and failure and frustration, you're not leading.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it comes with the territory, and I think our hope today is to give some handles, but partly through your stories, because I think we learn well through stories. We find ourselves in other people's stories. So maybe if you could just start us off by sharing a moment or two that stands out to you from like when frustration set in for you on the journey.
Yeah, there's a lot of those moments, obviously, over 15 years now. I want to go back, and you'd mentioned this, the statement that's really kind of set the tone for me as we're coaching other leaders that are frustrated. It was just a kind of a shining light for me. And I talked about early on, and I think this is a lot of leaders, second chair leaders, those that are working with their senior leader to build something, to accomplish something. And it was a short-lived period, but you still have to acknowledge the truth of it is that my ego got in the way because as you just heard in our story that, we moved there, we went all in, we gave, we did all these things because we were sold out to the idea, and then the idea wasn't working as fast as we wanted it to. And, so then that led to a lot of frustration because then, there are no people, there are no money, or there is no money, and there's no outlet here to see that, oh, okay, well, in 6 months it's going to be better. It's just like, oh God, it's more of the same, and this is and same is not good right now. But my ego, there were times my ego got in the way early on because I felt like maybe I'm carrying, or that I was carrying half the weight. Because we started this together, we're in this, there's nobody else. So I'm doing my part, Pastor Jonathan's doing his part. And so I'm carrying half the weight. And so it would create frustration when he would do something I didn't agree with, or I would do something he didn't agree with. And we would there would be some tension. And then I had a realization, and thankfully I had it early on, that I'm not carrying half the weight. He's carrying all the weight.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I'm here to help support him in carrying that weight. The weight and the calling of a senior leader is so much more, and just my ignorance and my ego got in the way, thinking, well, I'm doing my part, so I'm carrying half of this. No, he laid in bed at night and worried about his part, my part.
That's right.
The part God called him to do that we're not accomplishing yet. And I'm just laying in bed over here frustrated with what I'm not getting done.
That's
and
right.
How I feel like he should be acting, and he's not acting that way. So I'm frustrated with him, and I'm frustrated, and so the realization that I am not carrying half the weight, a fourth of the weight. I have responsibilities, but the weight I'm feeling is when I'm holding his arm up.
Wow.
The weight I'm feeling is when I've got my arms around his back and I said, we got this. The weight I'm feeling is totally different than because the calling God placed on Pastor Jonathan and Alicia Moore to move to San Antonio, Texas to start a church, God called them to that city. They feel the weight of that. I didn't go to San Antonio because God called me. I went to San Antonio because I was on a phone call with Pastor Jonathan. He said, hey, won't you come with us? I'm like, that sounds cute and all, but send me a postcard. And then Jennifer was like, I think we should do this. But just understanding that, being in that seat, because there were no official titles back in that.
Right.
Everybody did everything.
That's right.
And there's a lot of churches, even years deep, that's still the reality of it. But yet that leader gets in the idea of thinking, well, I'm carrying a fourth of the weight or half the weight, or
it's so good, man.
And that's just not the reality. Our job there is to help them support all of the weight.
So I have a question for you that I didn't prompt you on.
Okay.
That I'm just interested in right now, especially for all of us who are like OG and been around our thing for a while. I mean, been at my church for my whole life, 41 years.
Yeah.
What is it like to see others come along midstream and now start carrying and owning the thing that you've been a part of the whole time? Isn't that the weirdest thing?
It is.
And,
Yes.
and I don't mean to be snarky, but it's like others come in and they're owning it, and you look at them like partly like you don't even know what you're owning.
Right. Right.
I mean, just being, and I don't mean that but
Yes.
that's a weird
Yes.
feeling for those that, and I'm going to go somewhere with this, but I would just love, have you guys ever felt that?
Yeah. So I feel like many times I would tell him, I'm so glad they're here, but where have they been? We've been here. We've been here grinding it out. Where were they? They weren't here when it sucked. And now they want to come along and enjoy the good parts.
There it is.
And so, we you thank God that they're here now, but you definitely are like, man, you are benefiting from the much sweat and tears and all of the things that we were part of. However, I will say the ones that were there in the beginning or early on, there is a much more of an ownership buy-in. And when they come along later, sometimes that's missing, and you have to work with them to help them become an owner of it.
And it's not like you walk around and expect everybody to repay the price that you paid.
Right.
You know, those
Well,
that,
maybe a
those
little
that
bit, but
start, yeah. I mean, those that start something. I mean, we started it to pay a price, to lay a foundation so that they could walk in blessing.
Right.
And, you know, so but it's just a carnal part of leadership.
yeah.
If you get into it 10 plus years, you start to see others carry your baby.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it's
sometimes they don't carry it right.
and it's just a funny thing.
Yes, you're like, that is not what we wanted that to look like when we started that. So why are you carrying that baby that way? I will say too, something out of Predictable Success that Les McEwen said in that book, if you've ever read that book, was he talks about when you refer to the old days and how frustrating that can be for your team.
Sure.
Because they're like, I can't help it. I wasn't here. And you've made this thing, this big,
Almost an idol out
yes,
of it.
and we weren't part of that. And I when I read that part in the book, I thought, oh gosh, we've been so guilty of that.
I know.
Yeah.
You know.
100. But I'm just bringing it up because for those who are a little more seasoned in their roles or started their church, or maybe those that are starting churches now, in 10, 15 years, you're going to experience this.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is an element of frustration. And I think it sneaks up on you and you just don't see it coming. All of a sudden it stings you one day and you're like, where did that come
Well,
from?
one of the biggest things that this happened to us is when we moved from a portable to permanent. And as soon as we had permanent, we couldn't hold everybody.
Yeah,
and
the-
it's like
the
we were
throngs of people
3
started-
miles
yeah.
down the road
Right.
in a school and you couldn't come then, but now you're here.
And now you want to
So-
come lead and be a part of what's happening over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have you done over the years when you find yourself on a different page with your pastor? Because this is another little lane of frustration that second chair leaders deal with. And I'm always curious. I ask this question in different ways often, but like, where do you go to in scripture? Just what are your anchors? What are your handles? You know, when the thing's shaking, what do you grab onto?
I go to the New Testament where in the garden, Peter grabs the sword and cuts the soldier's ear off. Then I go to where
It does feel like that some
Then
days.
I go to Saul and David, and you know who can kill who. No, not really. I don't. I'm just Jennifer has the better answer here.
Well, no, I don't.
I do. I think someone taught, Charlotte Gamble taught on this years ago at Team Church, but I think you end up with a drawer full of ears sometimes if you're not careful. You walk around with that.
And I wasn't aiming at the
and
ear.
you're defending your leader. You're defending your
Yes.
leader, and you got everybody else's ear. Anyways, yeah,
Yes.
that's real.
So I would like to say that I've went to scripture every time for anchor, but I don't think I have. As a matter of fact, I don't think I probably have near enough. But I think that, you know, obviously our pastors have frustrated us, and that's two-sided. We have also frustrated them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, we told our pastors we were doing this, and my pastor's wife said, "Oh, well, you have tons of content. You're golden. You've got loads of content.
You're good."
So there have obviously been frustrating moments, and I think many years ago I heard Matthew 18 kind of broken down, and that has been my anchor. True offense, and I think there's a difference between me being sensitive and true offense or
Right.
frustration from my pastor, and when has my pastor done something that I felt like I needed to go have a conversation with him about. And I just kind of have a filter of if there's something that is frustrating me. This happened not too long ago in a meeting, and I always leave out and I want to sleep on it one night. Before I say anything,
Absolutely.
before I deal with it, I want to sleep on it one night. I want to pray about it the next morning. And then if I still feel like, hey, we need to have a conversation about this, I'm going to schedule that conversation. I'm going to have that conversation. And that Matthew 18 has just kind of helped me
great.
with that to make sure that I am not letting, I feel like we lead a lot of young leaders, and I feel like that there's this epidemic of sensitivity in probably everywhere. I don't want to say just the church, just in culture.
Oh yeah.
And there's a difference between sensitivity to something and feedback, sensitivity to feedback versus true, frustration and offense. And we have to differentiate the two.
So I have a question for you. What would you say to the leader who wants to push back or offer a no, who doesn't feel like they have the invitation, but they see something?
Well, there are times where we do not have the invitation.
Sure.
There are certain areas where we may not be asked, what do you think of this? Not many, but as a matter of fact, I can't think of one right now. But I know over time, we have earned our ability to, 15 years in to be able to speak into almost any environment. But there were times where we didn't. We weren't able to speak into those. And, I think I learned to trust my pastor even when I didn't understand, and know that even if it was a mistake, we were going to fix it. We would be able to fix it. I had their back no matter what. Like even if
That's
I don't
great,
agree
Jennifer.
with this, I had their back no matter what, and I was going to help them fix it if it was the wrong mistake. And we all found out later.
Yeah, it's not fatal.
No,
Like it
no.
maybe feels like it's going to be.
Right. And sometimes in leadership, we sit in our seat and we think we know everything.
That's right.
But we don't. Everybody on the team is making the best decision they can to move the church forward. No one more than the pastor. So they're not trying to make a wrong decision. So sometimes our ego and our pride can we think we know better. Well, this is their baby. They have way more invested than we do.
That's right.
So they are making the
absolutely.
best decision that they can for the organization.
Let me ask you this question, because I wanted to start us out and just go right deep and help people feel seen, in different moments of frustration. I'm sure there's many more that could pop up. But let me ask you this. Can frustration be productive? Because I actually believe that frustration can be productive. I believe that frustration can either be God doing a work in us, or God, setting us up to help the organization in a specific way. So I guess I'm just curious, have you seen frustration redeemed, where God uses these moments somehow redemptively in your leadership journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said, frustration in ministry, a lot of times I'm finding that it's God doing a work in me. And,
Yes.
it's very personal. It's my insecurities, where I'm insufficient, maybe a little bit of disagreement or bitterness, before it takes root is kind of, and so that frustration. So God, what are you doing in me? And then as you just said, frustration can also be me doing a work for God. So it's God doing a work in me, and then the flip side, me doing a work for God. Because when I get frustrated by something, it spurs me to action. If I'm laying in bed at night, or I'm driving to the office, or I'm going to a meeting, and it's that constant, then I need to go do something about it. If I'm always frustrated with my team, I need to be a better leader. If I'm always frustrated with my leader, I need to be a better follower. And working through those things, it pushes me to action. And when I've been most frustrated with my leader, typically it's because I wasn't being a good follower, and I allowed me to get in the way of we. I allowed me to get in the way of the organization and what we're doing. And so, I've seen it many times
really
out of frustration, actually something productive or a productive conversation. I always tell our team, I'm not afraid of hard conversations or because they can be very constructive, because we set I think you broaden the foundation a little bit, because we get to speak candidly and go, okay, here's what we're frustrated about. Here's what we're trying to work through. And it builds better for the next issue that comes on, because you're always going to have the next issue.
That was a thought I had. Was I think, like, if I was talking to a younger leader right now, I would say, for the starting point of your frustration, you probably have immaturity.
Yeah.
that needs to get shaved off. And this is a great time
Yes.
to consider yourself and your character and your heart. Because I think some of my earlier frustrations were just more the result of my own immaturity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Now, though, later on, I actually feel like my frustrations are more warranted. I actually feel like as I've grown up and become mature, the frustrations I have are really not as much about me anymore. I actually see legitimate things that are problems.
Yeah.
So now, once you get out of you and you kind of get you out of the way, now I feel like I actually see, but it's still frustration.
Yes.
right.
And it still begs the question, I guess the discipline that I'm trying to develop for myself in these moments is, can I sit down long enough to identify exactly what am I frustrated in? Because I'm a feeler, I'm emotion driven, but emotion's not helpful to my pastor. Going into his office,
Right.
when I'm frustrated, well, that's not going to help anybody. No. It's not going to be productive. But if
Right.
I can boil it down, we may actually get to some things that are that are real, that are actionable, things that we can do. I just noticed that for a long time, my immaturity's got in the way. And I think younger leaders need to really deal with some of those things first
absolutely.
in order to get to the productive side
Right.
of frustration.
So I had a leader in my office a few weeks ago, and they were in tears, and they literally said this to me: "I'm just so frustrated." And I said, "Well, I am so excited for you that you are frustrated." And I really meant that, because I feel like sometimes those moments are where we are able, they're a tipping point. To me, they're a tipping point for young leaders. And this particular one is certainly at a tipping point. Either you are going to get better. There's the Duke, I've left my notes. Yeah, the women's basketball coach. Her name's Kara Lawson, and I don't know if you've seen this clip. It's kind of everywhere right now, but she talks about handle hard better. And it's a 2-minute clip on YouTube. And she's talking to her basketball team. And she says, everybody's looking for easy. There is no such thing as easy. What we actually do is learn to handle hard better. And I feel like frustration helps you handle hard better.
Yes.
We went through a season back in 2017, 2018 at NorthRock. And we refer to that season as our necessary season.
Wow.
That season was necessary. Was it frustrating? Absolutely. Did we all want to quit, including our pastors? Yes. But it was our necessary season because we had to go through that to get here, and we learned how to handle hard better. And so frustrating seasons should be welcomed. You can't have comfort and growth. And so if you're comfortable and
Hate
you're
that
not,
saying.
I know, sucks. Frustration is a form of uncomfortable, and growth can happen through that. And so I actually feel like great things come out of frustration.
I don't know that I have, you guys are brilliant. I don't know that I have another question, but I would love if you could share a war story, like maybe one we haven't got to yet. I love stories. I love hearing people's journey. So there's a leader sitting out there. They got, 20 something minutes in. So they're listening. They need this conversation right now. Grandpa, tell us a story.
There we go. Grandpa, tell us about
I've
the
been
good
waiting for
old
that all
days.
morning.
The judge starts singing
Yeah,
here.
we got a little music. Okay, so let me say this, and we'll tell a couple stories around this. But I want to set the tone as well. What we didn't do when we were frustrated and when we were on different pages than our leaders or with our ministry as a whole. We didn't go say anything to our friends. We weren't trying to get advice from them. We didn't go to other staff members and like, man, we're so, irritated for, those are things we didn't do. Even in
Very
seasons
good.
of frustration, we always had our leaders back.
Absolutely.
good.
Now, we may want to punch them in the throat, but we were going to catch them after we hit them. I mean, we had them. And so we the other thing we wouldn't do, and this is easy to do, especially in the world of social media, because you can be so vague and have this, this prayer request idea out there. We didn't drop questionable comments or leave an open-ended statement out there that would make people question them. And that's something people do in times of frustration.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's they get on it on social media. Please pray for me right now. Can't talk about it. Really? But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. So that's what we didn't do. So a couple of war stories, man. There was a season where we have the necessary season. That was a few years ago, and then we have the dark years, as we refer to them, and dark years. 2 to 3 years in, and I was working about 3 jobs and a couple $100 a month from the church to offset something, and we're not sure what, but that's what we were all doing. I mean, like Pastor, he was taking the same thing. It wasn't like, nobody had a salary, and nobody was, it was bad, and we're like, man, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm trying to figure out how to make a living. Jennifer's, she's, we're both working. We got young kids at this time. There's a lot of frustration, and so I pull up to Pastor Jonathan's house, and I get there, and I'm going to quit. Like, this is the day that I'm done. I can't take it no more. And as an Enneagram 2 people pleaser, I had mustered up all the courage I had. And so I'm like, I'm going to pull in there, and I'm going to tell him how much I appreciated this opportunity, because he told me it was the opportunity of a lifetime when we started. And he's lied to me now, and I'm not going to hold him accountable for that, but I'm quitting. This is the day.
And you have to know, Matt had this old beat up truck. I mean, it was just like,
it was terrible.
Old
diesel
it
truck.
Like made so much noise, rattling.
So, anyway, that's what we pulled the trailers with, though. That's how we pulled the trailers to set up and tear down.
So you're driving this
so I pull up there in my noisy truck. I pull up in front of that, and I get there, and again, I'm nervous because I'm like, man, I went all in, and I'm about to go all out. Now, I'm not going to leave the church, but I've got to go make a living for my family. And when I pull up, he's pacing in the yard. Pastor Jonathan is, and he's like pulling his hair, and so I turn my truck off, and I step around, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, hey, and he doesn't even acknowledge that I'm there. And he says, it's gone. And I'm like, we've lost something in the front yard here. And so I'm looking in the grass, and I'm looking down. And he's just pacing. I don't know where it's at. It's gone. And I'm like, okay. So finally I said, what are we looking for? And he just stops and looks at me. And I can just see the look on his face. Because we had completely ran out of money on our savings. We were buying groceries on credit cards. I mean, It was just, this was a lot. And he looks at me, and just with the distraught look on his face, he said, all of my money, it's gone. And I said, do what? And he said, in my mind, I had this, set amount of money in my savings, but my checking's been pulling off of that. And I didn't balance. I didn't look at it. I'm broke, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I just didn't have the heart. Oh. And so I just put my arm around him, and I said, you know what? We're going to figure it out, and we're going to make it. And then I'm mad at myself, because I'm like, I come over here to quit. And I just signed up. I just signed another contract
with a broke,
broke organization, broke pastor. We're all broke, and I just put my arm around him, and I said, "We're going to figure this out." And that was a little bit for me. That was a little bit of a defining moment, because I was frustrated, and I talking about making it productive. In that moment, God did a work in me, and it fired me up. And the church actually began to take off. I mean, there were some things that happened that we did as an organization, but over the next year, we were in a completely different spot. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that was a galvanizing moment. That frustration became, because I mean, we'd worked out a plan, and she and I was like, okay, this is, I've never quit anything before, but I'm about to quit this. So
yeah. Yes. I mean, I have loads of war stories, so we'll just narrow it down. I did quit one time. We were, it's a funny story, but it was a horrible moment. I'm over a huge department, and we had just had, most of our staff had exited. And so I'm wearing many hats, and it's a Saturday night before our Saturday night service. And it's actually after our Saturday night service, and I'm in the lobby, and our head usher, who's been with us a long time, hands me his keys, and I'm confused, and I'm like, what is happening here? And he says, I'm done. And I didn't know that there had been some things happening behind the scenes with some people causing,
major issues,
major confusion. And things. But anyways, he hands me these keys and I'm stunned. And in that moment, I can usually roll with whatever, I'm a person that loves a plan. Give me a problem. I can go put a plan together, but it was during the necessary season. And while we were in it, it didn't feel necessary. It was hard.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of this, and I took these keys and I could tell the breakdown is about to happen. Like there's a breakdown coming. So I hightailed it out, and our building, I didn't have an office. And so I went to Pastor Jonathan's office. I knew he wouldn't be in it. And I made it to the office, and I made it to a corner, and I curled up on the corner in the floor. Of Pastor Jonathan's office, and I'm sobbing hysterically. And I'm holding all these keys. And Matt comes in there, and it's one of those.
I turn around and walk out. I said, I don't know what to do with this.
That like you can't stop. Like it's been building for a while. And Pastor Jonathan comes in, and he kneels down beside me, and I looked at him and I said, I quit. I'm done. I didn't sign up for this. And he said, oh, no, you didn't. Get up. We're going to go over. Alicia's cooking spaghetti. We're going to go home and eat spaghetti. And you and Matt come over, and you're going to get up tomorrow, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. And I said, I'm not. I'm done. And he said, no, you're not. You're going to feel differently tomorrow, Jennifer. We got this. So, yeah, I mean, I tried to quit, and here I am. I'm still here. So,
and isn't it so redemptive now to walk through, 3 locations, thousands of people on the weekend, Campus 4 coming.
Yep.
You have a vision well beyond that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, isn't it God redeemed? He truly is faithful.
Yeah. And we're living in the benefit and the blessing of it now.
That's right.
And there's a true gratitude, that really drives a lot of our decisions today and our mentality around it. So.
I think you have great words, Jen. I am excited for the person frustrated that's listening to this today. Mm-hmm. The last time I think I was in a major season of frustration, and I actually did turn in a version of, I was a volunteer staff, so I don't know how much you can resign, but I did. I turned in, I called a couple staff members and said, hey, after my commitments over the next couple of months, I'm done, and it was actually out of that season that we got leading second. And I will say, like, God just has a way. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's preparing you, through, in fact, my prayer recently in a moment of frustration, my prayer recently was, thank you, God, you're building new capacity.
Yeah.
In my family today, right now. And you're building new capacity in us today, obviously. So, maybe that's why the writers say count it all joy, right?
That's it. In that season, it's funny that, again, how amazing God is. And I talked with a leader recently, and because of what we've been through in seasons of frustration, it felt verbatim to him. And he called me back later, and he said, I'm just so grateful that you were able to speak into my life. And I'm like, well, I am too. I'm not grateful for what allowed me to be able to say the things the way that I said them. But, I guess I am grateful for them, but because it was ugly in that season. Yep. But to see God, and so God's redeeming it in so many ways. Yep. And one of the things that I think when it comes to this frustration idea as well is just because we are doing spiritual work, we don't get to over spiritualize the frustration sometimes. And we get guilty, and we're guilty of that at times. And we try to make every disagreement with the leader turn into a Saul and David situation. No, you just have a different preference. You just have a different, and so as you look back, that's been part of, in our maturity around this, has been a huge part of that when we were frustrated, when we were, having those moments, that now I can look back and I can be like, oh, that's a spiritual attack. Oh, absolutely. The enemy's trying to wreck us. And then another time you look back and you're like, no, they're just an idiot. Like, they're just being stupid. Quit making that spiritual, because, they don't know how to act or talk or whatever, or they've got a bad attitude. So that has been another one of the kind of hallmark moments around it.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to thank you both for being absolute soldiers in, your ministry, your service at NorthRock.
Yeah.
You guys mean a lot to Leading Second. You mean a lot to your church. So thank you both.
Absolutely.
And we love you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We love you guys and everything. We love this crew, this tribe.
To find the episode guide, visit our website, leadingsecond.com/podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram @Leading Second and join us on the Leading Second Collective on Facebook.